What's going on, people? It's Mr. Back again with a review show. And yes, before I do start, I just want to do a little bit celebrating drink. I feel so great. I rattled the whole Leicester content creators. I don't know why, but if there's any Leicester City fans or Leicester content creators in the comments, thank you very much for the victory yesterday. Yes, boys fans, how are you feeling about yesterday's fantastic result against our so-called rivals, Leicester City? I feel great. I feel absolutely great about it. We'll get the panel's verdict on how we felt yesterday about yesterday's game. But if you are new to the channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you know, and comment below, people. How are you feeling? Right, let's get the panel. Go through the panel. Let me start with the Welsh Steve. I use Welsh Steve.
Yeah, I'm all good, Ben.
Yeah. No, Steve, you meant to be more happy than that, Steve. You meant to be more happy than that. Not all right, Ben.
I am smiling. You just can't see you through the beard.
Next one below me, we've got the man himself, Matt. How you doing, Matt?
All right, Ben. Happy with the result yesterday. Very, very much needed 3 points and suitably bagged.
Next but not least, I know there's quite a lot of Leicester fans are going to be on here. Before I come on stream, I said to this, if Molo, just behave. That's why Ellie's next to him, because if there's any Leicester fans got rattled about Molo, he's here. So Molo, Ellie, if he's a naughty boy, just give him a little nudge. Yeah. How you feeling, Molo and Ellie?
Feeling very smug and happy.
Yeah.
Contented. Oh God, it started already. All my Leicester fan club out there. It's good to see. But I'm just here to talk football.
That's always come on, people. Like, if there's any Leicester fans on here, like, just all I'm going to say, just take the massive L. That's all I'm going to say. Take it like I did over time. So just take the massive L, and we're all happy. Before we do the comment, like I want to see everyone. This is from Lewis. Congratulations for winning yesterday. Please continue making City Ground Fortress, and you have a very good chance to stay up. Even everyone also, Ben, you tell me Matt was coming on tonight. Good to see the pundit back on. Bloody hell, you got a fanboy there, Matt. Oh, this is from Razdad. How you doing, Razdad? Good to see you yesterday. This is from Eve. Hello, Mr. Steve, Matt, and Molo. Hope you're well. We won. Had a great time yesterday, apart from had a fight, had a glass door which I walked into. I don't know to laugh at you, but it did make me a little chuckle when you mentioned with that. Sunny D, how are you doing, you Reds? Gamer, hi, Mr. and gang, you Reds. Colin Jackson, good, happy. Chapo, Elk Reds, what a win, 13th in the league. So good to Hendo, was up for 6 weeks. People call Hubbard better than Henson and Smith. We'll talk about that later on in the show. Where's the other comments? I think this is from Molo. Great to see Molo being seen Taylor again. Oh, this is one, and he's a Leicester fan. Just what I get out there. This is from Dave. I'm as happy as a pig. Oh, Dave! Shout out to Dave. Dave will be back here soon. People in the comments, do you want Dave back? He's on a little rest from our side as well. Right, let's start.
Too busy wallowing.
Huh?
He's too busy wallowing, isn't he? That's what gets up to the weekend.
Right, let's watch it. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to all 65 people that are watching this as well. Please do hit the like button if you can and do a massive favour. Right, let's talk about yesterday's game. And I'm going to start with you, Matt. How are you feeling?
Well, happy, obviously. It was a little bit dodgy in the first half, wasn't it? It was a bit sort of 50-50 and they were getting had a few clear chances and probably should have taken the lead, really. Wouldn't have been surprising to have been behind at half-time. But then the introduction of Colback, changed everything, and we stepped everything up in the second half, and it was nice to win with a bit of a margin, wasn't it?
You had to get the Colback in, didn't you? Had to get Colback in, didn't you?
Well, I thought he played 3 games in a week. Few people thought he could do that. They'd all written him off. They'd buried him after Blackpool with a few of the others. And they were the ones that came on that made a big impression, I thought, yesterday. All of them that came on. O'Brien was probably the worst offender the weekend before, but it's nice to see him make a really positive contribution. But they all did, every single one of them. So fair play to them. It's a squad game, and they showed their worth yesterday, I thought.
Steve, how are you feeling about yesterday?
Yeah, positive. 13th in the table now. Like Matt said, how football can change in a week. Only a week ago, they were the worst players in the world. Like O'Brien, Colback, McKenna, and now all of a sudden they come on and do the biz. Sturridge came on, changed the game. Real physical presence up front. Nothing Scarpa did wrong. It's just he completely changed the game, didn't he? But yeah, it's just how fickle fans are, isn't it? It's 1 week you're getting thumped by Blackpool and then go and beat Leicester 2-0. And like I just said, the players came on, changed the game. And I thought, like Matt just touched on O'Brien, good cameo, good to see him back on the pitch. Because I personally want to keep him. I won't like to see him go. McKenna, some of the comments before the game were shocking.
That's what I will be talking about McKenna. I will be talking about McKenna as well. But carry on, Steve.
I seen one comment. I'm not defending him because he's my favourite player, but some of the comments saying, he's going to give me kittens, he's giving me nightmares, even before he went on the pitch. Only a year ago, well, he's been our best player for the last 2 years. He had player of the season, and now it's just, I can't look at Twitter sometimes, all these social networks. It's just shocking, some of the comments. I really think it's other fans trolling our timeline, honestly. It's that bad. But yeah, how good was Gibbs White? I'm sure we'll come on to him. He's worth 80 million in my eyes now. That guy can do anything on a football pitch, can he? He can do everything. He's pretty much the all-rounder footballer. He's just like he's enjoying his football now as well. I've seen an interview with his father, or his grandfather after the game, saying he's enjoying his time at Forest. Brilliant. On top of the world.
Molo, we'll start with you, LA, because I know Molo's got a lot to say after this. LA, how are you feeling about yesterday's game? Because I know Molo's got a lot to say. LA, let's go you first.
I mean, you can't help but feel absolutely fantastic. We've really turned City Ground into a fortress, and to win 2-0, I think that's our biggest win
in the
league, which in itself isn't good. But I'm glad that we saw it and did it against Leicester. They can't beat us at home, and it was just couldn't really be more happy, to be honest, with that performance, with the end result. Happy for the boys, happy for Brennan Johnson in particular to get a couple of goals. Just all round, feeling very good. Good end to the week, in my opinion.
Ask us some specifics about the game.
Molo, you're next. People, I know before we do, we're a Leicester fan. Jack's here. Hello, Dora. As you know, Jack is in the watching this as well. And this is one for Jack. Molo looks happy. See, Molo's got. He looks happy as well. Leicester fans, just come on, get at Molo. If you want to get Molo, get at him. Molo, what's your thoughts on yesterday's game?
Do you know what? Before I do that, I just want to thank Leicester City Football Club because the turning point of our season, if you really want to pinpoint it, was half time down in their hovel. And what happened? We were 3-0 down. We were wide open. He brought on Yates and Aurier, who without doubt have been our two best players since. And the team, obviously, the second half was a bit rubbish and they scored another really fluky goal. But that was the turning point of our season. Since then, with the odd game that's gone a bit wrong against top teams, we've tightened up at the back. And Steve's bang on. McKenna and Cook started it as the two centre halves. They got clean sheets at Brighton against Liverpool and so on, and got. For some reason, they've suddenly become the worst players in the world while they're not in the team, but from some people's point of view. And we've tightened up, we've played differently. And thanks to that hammering we took again, because I think when we were getting hammered at Man City, everyone was like, oh, that's Man City, you expect it. We're getting hammered by a second-rate poor club like Leicester City. It opened everyone's eyes to the fact that we've got to look at the Premier League differently in terms of you can't go all out and be wide open and have. I forget exactly, but the midfield against Leicester at that away game was very attacking, and there was no looking after Maddison or anyone like that. And despite the 7 first-team injuries we had before the game yesterday, we've gone out there. Horrible first half for both teams, to be honest. They should have scored, no doubt. And that was the only other similarity. When we were 1-0 down at their place, we should have scored. At 0-0, they should have scored yesterday. But once they missed, it was all one-way traffic, wasn't it? I felt a bit sorry for their fans, though. Not only were having to watch that dross.
Wait, Marlon, wait. No, wait. People in the comments. No, wait there. People in the comments. Am I hearing what he feels sorry for the fans?
Because not only are they getting soaked watching that drop, even their banners are garbage.
Molo,
even the banners are garbage. Second-rate club.
Right. Molo, do you think they felt sorry for us when we lost 4-0?
Yeah, but we were singing and getting behind our team. They were grumbling and getting up these banners that somebody made at primary school for them. I mean, where they couldn't write straight and stuff. Even their banners are rubbish. Do you know what I mean? I feel sorry for them. They've got to support. They've got to go back to that city. They've got to support that club.
We don't care.
It's awful. They need counselling. There's people they can ring.
People in the comments, do you feel sorry for Leicester fans yesterday? Me? No. Right. Let me talk. We speak about McKenna, and as everyone has mentioned, again in the comments as well. I personally like the stick he was getting from Forest fans, and for me personally yesterday, he come in alongside Warrow, and I thought he'd done his job. He's done his job, and I'll ask you, Matt, how did you feel about McKenna coped with someone like Vardy with it against?
I thought he was brilliant. I felt really sorry for him recently because you can see he's not the same person as when he was getting picked, and he's no different. He's just as good as he was when he wasn't getting picked. And we all thought Bolly wasn't up to much until he did get picked. I saw Bolly and I said to him, "You're a bit of a footballer, aren't you? You know, I never knew you were so good," sort of thing. And he said, "Ask the Wolves fans." And then the next thing is he's scoring against them and stuff. And unfortunately, he's injured. But if you don't get picked, it affects them mentally. And the last thing they need is a load of their own fans writing them off. They've not become bad players. The manager's just decided to pick someone they think might be a little bit better than them. It's not. They've not changed overnight. They're just as good as they ever were. But mentally, it's a big thing, especially for defenders. And I thought McKenna, Scott, he looked like a little kid making his debut. He looked like Joe Wall making the first of his 200 caps when he was coming on. And we're hurting ourselves by treating our players like that. And, you know, you're not going to get picked every week. Joe took some time out of the team. He was dropped. And I thought yesterday he was absolutely outstanding. He's one of our best players. He won't get mentioned, but he was really good. I mean, he makes a few mistakes, but it's all about risk and reward. And, you know, he takes chances. So, you know, he was excellent, basically. Before the game, I said it's important because I knew, I got the feeling he was a little bit fragile mentally, which he shouldn't have been. And I thought he was outstanding, especially to begin with. He was very, very solid. And okay, with the odd things after that, there was the sort of the clearance that got semi-blocked and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple of things, but you're playing in the Premier League. What happened? You know, if you had a defender that never made a mistake, he'd be worth 200 million, wouldn't he? You know, McKenna's a hell of a good player. He's an international, and he wouldn't let us. He never has let us down, has he? He's made one mistake in 2 years. You know, I'll take that all day.
Before I get Marlo and Stephen, I'm going to look through the comments. This is from Glenn. Good to see you yesterday, Glenn. Evening door and panel still buzzing after yesterday. 3 points were just what we needed. Quincy, MGW, and Jono partnership connected with some goals. It's good to see. It's so good to see. I'm going, like Steve said, we are going to mention more gives by later on in the show. As well, another member to the channel. How you doing, Paul? One of these games today where everyone clearly the subs made a meaningful contribution at some point. Fantastic day. It's getting more like last year by the day. It is. I'm not, like I said, it's just getting.
It felt like that yesterday, didn't you think? I thought the vibe was like a game we had yesterday when we weren't kind of out of our depth, but you know, we were mixing it a bit, but you felt like we had it in us to win the game. So, and just going about, I thought the whole defence played really well yesterday. The fullbacks were outstanding. McKenna did well. You know, the whole defence did well, and obviously Hendo was again outstanding. And we just hope he's all right with his little injury at the end.
So, I've got a few chat from Kieran. It's call back, you know. So we'd like to we're going to now we mentioned callback. I believe Matt's here. Thanks, Kieran, for the £1.79. This is from Nick, another member to the channel. Brennan is the first Forest player to score a brace since Brian Roy in 1997. Okay.
Wow.
I never knew that, Nick. Thank you, Nick. I never knew that. Is it true? Is it?
Well, we haven't been in the Premier League since then, So
2 years before we got relegated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean since then, but yeah. But when you're at the bottom of the league as well, we never had goal scorers, did we?
Well, to get one.
I think this is what. How you doing, Lee? Did Molo enjoy seeing Lincoln squared at Match of the Day? Did you enjoy that, Molo?
No, yeah. Well, I particularly enjoyed it when he tried to make his little snide comment, and Ian Wright absolutely ruined him with his little comment back at the end. Credit to Ian Wright. Love it.
Yeah, shout out to Ian Wright.
Wrong though, anyway, didn't he?
Yeah,
he got the score wrong as well. It wasn't 4-3.
Shout out to Ian Wright as well. Like I said, he loves the Ryan Yates. He loves Ryan Yates as well, but he got it wrong. It wasn't Ryan Yates. It was Big Sam. It wasn't Ryan Yates. But shout out to Ian Wright for that. More comments as well. Yeah, I'm concerned that your dad's being a Leicester fan.
I'm feeling you probably might not be, given some of his comments.
No, he just, you know what it is, Leicester fan. Like Molo was on the channel, was on the wager, and he's getting absolutely hammered. And now we've won. There's Leicester fans here being nice to him. We're going through the comments as well. How you doing, James? I hope you're all good. I know there's going to be one guy who's going to be very, very, very happy. Simon, shout out to Simon. He's from Loughborough. So Simon's he's going to enjoy his tomorrow morning when he sees all these Leicester fans near him. So shout out to Simon for that as well. How you doing, Curtis? Shout out, I know Curtis got a big result today. Big Arsenal fan. And as you know, Arsenal won 2-0. So shout out to Curtis. I know he's going to be he'll be on the JD tonight. So shout out to Curtis as well. I'll make sure everyone go and subscribe to Curtis, top guy. Let me look for the comments as well. I say that Lovebot is a red door, as you know. Let's just like the first off. I'm gonna ask you, Stephen. Like the first off, like I said, it was a bit. It wasn't great, but so we took more than I think. What was it? We have a few chances. We less than a few chances with Barnes. Like Barnes was a threat, wasn't it? It was my threat before the game, but we had to watch him, didn't we, in the first half?
Well, yeah. Is it a case of like it's going our way now? In the first half, you missed that chance. Maybe a couple of months ago, you would have buried that, and we would have been against it. In the second half, was it 1-0 at that point when he missed, or was it 0-0? I think
0-0.
Yeah. See, again, that could have gone bottom corner. It's just I felt, especially the first half chance, I thought this might be our day, because that's the only time they got in behind. Was Vardy even playing?
Can't remember him.
Did nothing. Obviously, they're a big threat with Maddison if he's in the team, but other than that, they were such a poor team. In my eyes, they had no threat. Like you said, really Barnes caused us any problems. I felt there was more goals in that game for us. I think first half was a bit cagey. Nothing really sparked the game. Really did it. The first half, nothing really happened as such, and then the second half, like we touched on, the subs just came on and the game just came to life then. But that first half, I thought, when he missed that chance, I thought, got off on one there, because I think it just came to him quick as well. I think he just snatched it, really, didn't he? And I was like, thank God, because I thought, if we go 1-0 behind now, what kind of game would it have been then? Because at the moment, I find, like it's the Southampton game, like if we had gone 1-0 behind down there as well, what kind of game that could have turned out? And looking at that result now, that was a big result, seeing the run they've been on since that game. And I'm going to go on record and say now, that game we won down there, I think that's what's kept us up, or will keep us up this season. That winning down in Southampton was massive, because the confidence we've taken into that Leicester game yesterday, you could see, take the cup away and the Wolves game, they're just cup games, but the league, that Southampton game, and we've just mentioned it about that feel. Like I wasn't at the ground yesterday, obviously, just watching on TV, but you get that was like the same atmosphere as last year in them championship games. And I think that Southampton game was huge. I think that's what's turned our season, I think if we stay up, we can pinpoint it back to that game winning down there.
100%. Before we do get Molly, there's a massive, I'm going to say happy birthday to Matt's partner, She's in the chat. He has mentioned my birthday. Michaela, happy birthday! I know
Cool.
Matt has not. Matt, that's
remember
shocking, Matt.
No, I thought who when you said
Garage is still open.
Oh, Dave.
Hang on. Is Michaela down like the restaurant on an empty table and she's waiting for you to turn up for it? And you haven't told.
no, she's in Toronto actually. So
Yeah, she's in Canada, isn't she?
yeah.
Michaela,
So she's doing all right.
I'll say it on behalf of your husband. Happy birthday! I don't know if Matt must have forgot about it, but happy birthday, Michaela, as well. We're going to do more comments as well. Hi, Twitter. Hey, give me a shout out from Nottingham, lad from Austria. All in Austria. Thank you for that. Ellie, let's talk about our players. And I'm going to mention Ellie loves him a lot. The man himself, Brennan Johnson, scoring 2 goals. Ellie, talk about him, Ellie. I'll wait here for a bit while you talk about him.
Well, firstly, I will confess something. I remember none of the game. I'm gonna be completely real. I do remember that he scored, and in fact, I got a little souvenir I woke up with. Some of A Block. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Don't get me cancelled or whatever. It was on the floor, so I thought I may as well take something to remember this fabulous win. So yeah, it was a very good day. I think
All day.
yeah. I think Dad can do the reviewing part. I'm just here to make sure he doesn't say anything and get himself in trouble, to be honest.
You know what? That's a great idea.
I watched the game myself, so I actually
That
know.
is a great idea. Well, right.
I'm going to say that the people, Steve and Matt have both mentioned the fullbacks are absolutely exceptional. I was a few months back, I can remember someone giving me pelters in a conversation, not on here, about Renan Loddy, and I was saying the guy is class. You can see there's a footballer in there, you can see there's a player, and you don't do what he's done in the game by the age of 23 or 24 without being a class player. And my God, has he shown us that now? Aurier as well, equally as good, but we kind of knew that already. But I mean, Jono, I've been so frustrated this season with the criticism he's received because it's driven me mad how stupid some people can be. He's such a talented lad. He's 21 years old. It's his first season in the Premier League. Des and Dave Asprey speak really well about this. And ultimately, when he's on the pitch, he's a threat, even if he's not having his best day. But now he seems to be on top of his game completely. He absolutely terrorised that. Is it Luke? I mean, I think the fullbacks are a big difference.
Luke,
whatever his name.
Thomas.
Yeah,
Luke Thomas.
He terrorised him. And I think the other thing, again, Steve alluded to it, it wasn't a great first half, but for the first time in a very, very long time, and I know you'll find this hard to believe, I actually was talking to some Leicester fans walking back because I had to walk down into town, and they agreed. And they said, I don't remember Leicester winning a single 60-40, let alone a 50-50. They were awful in terms of earning the right to play because they've still had good players out there. They've been in the Premier League how many years, so there's no excuses for injuries and stuff. But they didn't really want it, did they, for want of a better phrase? And that was coming from Leicester fans as well. We won every 50-50. And it meant the likes of, Morgan, Scarpa, obviously Jono, Surridge when he came on, who was very, very physical, really impressive. They could play and do what they're, do the attacking side of it. And it all was built on that foundation of winning every single tackle that was anywhere near winnable. And, they did win a few tackles, but they were like 80-20 in their favour usually, weren't they? And they lost some of them as well. So, yeah, Jono's superb. And whoever it is that sits near Sonny D slating Jono clearly knows nothing about football. Jono was absolutely superb the last few games, isn't he? And it's good to see. He was the same last year, though, wasn't he? Really kind of hit his straps after Christmas in the new year. His stats for the new year onwards are fantastic. And it's his third professional season and his first in the Premier League. So credit where, I've never criticised him, to be fair. I always knew he'd come good because he's that talented. But fair play to him, and well done.
I'm going to ask you, Matt. As you know, Henderson, for me, another great performance from him. He got injured. As you know, it seems bad, but let's talk about his performance first, then we'll talk about his injury. His performance-wise, Matt, how do you think he felt yesterday?
Well, he didn't have that much to do, did he, really? I mean, most of the time they had chances, they stuck them wide and stuff. So he didn't really have much to do. I mean, we're still, you know, he could take the week off after what he did on Wednesday. But, yeah, so not a lot to say about him, really. I thought, you know, just hope he's all right, and he sort of was play acting and just took it a little bit too far. But personally, I think there's something wrong. You know, like the others over in Toronto were saying, oh, they saw them kind of laughing at him when he was injured and all this stuff, but they hadn't appreciated we couldn't make a substitution. And, you know, it might have been, the laughs might not have been he was play acting, because he was hobbling around afterwards, wasn't he? So I think he has got a problem. But anyway, going back to Brennan, I think, you know, obviously Brennan's like a brilliant player, but so far this season, I'm sure there's no one less happy with his form than him, because, you know, he hasn't fulfilled his ability so far this season. But the last 4, 5, 6 games or something, he's started to get there, which is fantastic. And yesterday, it was like what we hope to see all season. And there's no doubt he'll start being able to do it now every week. So, you know, it's just a learning process, isn't it? And the whole team started to look comfortable yesterday. Serge, again, he didn't do much. His final ball was awful, but the rest of it, he's like a sort of Superman. He ended up on the left wing at one point, didn't he? He ran the whole width of the pitch. It was insane. And going back to all those tackles we won and everything, yes, but I think it was more the mentality of the team. And I think fundamentally, I think that's the most important thing. They didn't look up for it. But however you look at it, you know, we didn't look up for it for about 10 games of the season, and it wasn't because we weren't trying. It was because we didn't have the confidence, and we weren't in a good place. We didn't trust our teammates. We didn't know how they played, and now we're starting to look like a proper football team. And dare I say it, I thought a week ago it was pretty harmful. We damaged the squad by doing what happened at Blackpool, but it seems like the squad's kind of pulled together. And in fact, it might end up being a blessing in disguise that they're all given a chance, fell on their faces a little bit. And now, you know, get it out of your system, do your boots up and start from scratch. You know, you had your chance. Now you can sort of work hard to get in the team, the old-fashioned way sort of thing. So, yeah, Henderson, then that's the other bit. But, yeah.
Matt, do you think if Henderson is injured, do you think Forest need to bring in a new goalkeeper in, or do you trust Henderson?
I think that geezer up there, getting back on loan, Mr. Sandler, that's what we should do, shouldn't we? He'd come back at a drop of a hat, I'm sure. 5 million, give him 6, 7 million, get him back. Yeah, if he's injured, I mean, you know, the one thing is the window's open, isn't it? You know, I like Wayne Hennessy's no mug, but you know the way we spend money these days. If you got money in the bank, it's like we'll
spend another 30 million on a goalkeeper. It's fine. It's fine.
It is difficult with goalkeepers, though. But you see now, if he is badly injured, I mean, who knows? He might be fit to play the next game, or he might be out for the rest of the season. If he's going to be out for the rrest of the season, I think you definitely have to buy a goalkeeper. Yeah. I mean, maybe we won't know, and if he is out for the rest of the season, I would get that guy back, because he's you know, he should have been there to start with, in my opinion, and I always thought so. It makes it hard then for Hendo. Do we sign him for going forward? Because I think we definitely would like to, but it's tricky, isn't it? It's a difficult decision. If he's going to be out a couple of games, Hennessy, no problem. If he's going to be out for the whole of the season, I would get Samba back. You know, he's a brilliant goalkeeper.
He won't come back.
Whether he'd come back now.
You won't come back. People have done a poll.
You said he might. He might.
Not happening.
He didn't want to leave.
He
didn't want to leave.
They did want to leave.
Why do you think that? Where'd you hear that?
I'm not going to say on here, but he was pushing to leave.
He did not want to leave.
Soon
They
as he
were
heard,
crying their eyes out. They were crying their eyes out. He didn't want. He wanted to play. You can't be a second, third choice goalkeeper. You don't sign up for that. But
yeah, that's he wanted to leave once he knew we were interested in signing Henderson.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I don't know.
He was told he wasn't.
If people
The last
remember,
thing in the world he wanted to do was leave.
no, I don't want to cause a stir. If I do remember, when Forrest would link with Dean Henderson, I think it was his brother, Pat, put something on Twitter about bringing in a new keeper. So was linked with he put
Pat
something out
isn't
there.
his brother, though, is he?
Sam's not
Pat
his
isn't
brother.
his brother.
His mate, well, whatever it was,
This is-
his mate. He
Pat-
put something out there.
There's a lot of misinformation about.
Yeah, but me personally, I don't know. People in the comments, what would you think? Bring Sam, yes or no?
No, well, look, it's not going. In reality, it's not going to happen. You don't go and join the club and come back within 6 months. It's not going to happen in reality. But money talks as well. But it's not going to happen. There's people at the club that fell out with him too much. Obviously, that's the reason he left. But he wanted to stay, and for me, I'd have put his name down first as the guy who I believe from last year was be capable of playing in the Premier League myself. I like Henderson. Henderson might be a better goalkeeper, but I wouldn't have gone and spent £500,000 a month or something for a marginal upgrade if I didn't need to.
Right, I put a poll up. I said, do we need a new goalkeeper? And 83 people said yes, and 17 said no. I've done as well.
Depends how long he's out, though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's a big question. I mean, he's out 2 games. Don't go and buy another goalkeeper. We always do that for it.
Nick says, can we recall Hovarth? We can't, can we? Surely we can't.
He's not better than Hennessy.
Probably
anyway.
can.
He's not better than Hennessy, but how are Luton getting on in Championship? I don't know how Luton are getting on.
He's played really well.
Who cares? No one even looks now, do they?
I don't even look at Championship now.
You don't care.
You don't care.
Who's there?
I know this guy. I know this guy watches Championship football. This guy next to me watches Championship football. Don't you, Steve?
I watch all football then.
I'm
a purist.
I know Steve watches Championship football.
I just watch Fauna in the Championship. That's all I watch in the Championship.
People in the comment, there's 105 people. If you can't do a massive favor, hit the like button, subscribe if you know. Right, another player that everyone's loving at this moment. I'm gonna get to you to Steve, and then I'll get to Ellie. You want to talk, Ellie, or are you just a bit hangover?
I'm fine. It's just if you ask me any technical questions on the game.
Right. Let me ask Steve first, and then we'll get Ellie's brain working in a minute. We'll talk about the man himself, Morgan Gibbs-White, and again, every time he touches the ball, he does something magic. People in the comments as well. How much love you get from Morgan Gibbs-White? Steve, what a player!
Yeah, I got a question for all of you. Can you recall recent memory or whatever, like a player to get you on the edge of your seat? You know, where every time he's got the ball, you feel something happen.
Collymore.
And how far back is that? 20 odd years?
Oh, well, I'm too young.
Antonio,
Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Andy Reid, yeah.
Ian Woan.
Not in recent memory, I can't recall a player where every time he gets the ball, something's going to happen.
Jack Colback.
Oh,
you can't deny that.
But you know what? He did a bit of lead up to that second goal yesterday, right? If one of the top 6 players did that, right? What he did was a bicycle kick. He got up, he went for the 1-2, he made a run, he held the ball up, went around the player, went through the midfield, sprayed the ball out outside of his foot to Jono. If one of the top 6 players did that, they would be absolutely wetting their pants over it. But because it's us, and everyone thinks he's overpriced, and we've paid stupid money for him, and no other team play over the odds for players, do they? No. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started.
Don't stick out. No, guest stars. Come on,
Jamie Carragher.
Right. Go on, do it.
Jamie Carragher won me up in the week, right? He's one of them who slated Forest spending 150 million, right? But then he went on TV and said Liverpool need to spend 250 million pound on players. That's fine. That's okay. That's okay. Chelsea going to spend £1 billion now in 1 month, but we're going to spend 150 million. Oh, Forest can't do that. Oh, they spent too much money on Gibbs-White. I'm just glad Gibbs-White is showing now, and it's shut a lot of people up, I found. And especially, I've spoken to a few Wolves fans, a few were a bit gutted he left, but most of them are like, oh, you couldn't have him. We've had £40 million off him. But I'm sure they like to have him back now in the form he's in. going forward because he's making things happen. And he's playing against with a striker as well. If you think about it, can you imagine him supplying a striker, out and out striker? That striker could easily 10 to 20 goals. You know, if someone like in recent memory, someone like an Assombalonga, an out and out striker now we had up top. You know, someone in that ilk. You know, just absolutely up top. I think someone mentioned on a couple of podcasts ago, it's just someone who stays in that 18-yard box. And Gibbs White just playing him. It'd be, and because at the moment he's playing through the middle, and you would think that Taiwo would be that player. But,
well, I personally think Surridge yesterday was the thing that did that. He played.
Mark, he was the next question. He was the next question about Surridge.
Okay, go on.
Let me talk about Morgan's White first, because that's the next player I want to talk about. But Marlo, no wait, Ali, come on, Ali, get your brain working. Morgan's White, come on, talk to me.
Well, I think at the start of the season, I was frustrated with him, but also never doubted that he would grow into the player that he is at the moment. And I think there's a lot more to come from him as well. I think I do actually remember the bicycle kick. That was really cool.
It must have been good.
Yeah, I remember that one. But I think whenever he gets more, like you say, I am thinking, oh, what's he going to do? Sometimes it can be a bit hit or miss, but I think he's got magic in his feet. Like we all remember the first time he came on and he did that. I don't know what you call it. It was a bit of skill. We're like, oh, he's
TGA shuffle.
Yeah.
At Everton.
Everton, yeah. But this boy, he can play. And I think there's a lot more to come from him as well. I think this is the beginning. He's playing as he should be playing, but he's got a lot more to come. I think he has been fantastic. Well, recent games, as we say, but I think it's unfair to judge really any of our players based on the start of the season because there was so much gelling. And I think we're finally seeing what we expected from him and more. I think, like, say, if he was in one of the top 6 clubs, that video would be all over everywhere, all over social media. I think he has been class and there's a lot more to come through. I'm very excited about Gibbs White whenever he gets the ball.
Yeah.
Matt, Matt, what do you think of Morgan Gibbs White?
Yeah, well, let's be honest though, it was another bit of a stab in the dark by Cooper. I mean, he hasn't been proven in the Premier League, but now he's looking like not only a Premier League worthy player, but potentially a world-class player doing things like he did yesterday. And his fee is looking, on the cheaper side. But when we spent that money, it was a bit of a gamble, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't playing every week in the Premier League and doing Premier League things. But now they're in the Premier League, they're doing Premier League things. They look like they belong there, and they start to look. Any player that can play in the Premier League's worth about 30 million quid anyway, straight away. So he looks good value. So I think he's brilliant. He can play in a lot of roles. And he's a player that makes things happen, which is so valuable. You can have the Scott McKennas, you can have the Jack Colbacks, and they're really good. They've got their uses, but you need the Morgan Gibbs White to make the other bits of the machine work, I think. And I think Brennan will benefit from it. I think Scarpa will benefit from it. I think Lingard will benefit from it if he's about to enjoy it. Sam Surridge, all of them will be better players when they're all in the team. And can I start going on to the Surridge bit? Or do you want to ask that next question?
Well, that's the next question. That's the next question. No, wait.
Well, let me quickly say about the Surridge thing. We're playing with a false 9, aren't we? Really, at the moment. Yeah. And like yesterday, like Scarpa was starting to. In the first half, he was lost. He didn't really do anything. And against Wolves, he was ultra lost. And he's a brilliant player. I think he's going to be a massive asset for us. But he had a concerning performance against Wolves because he was like the Carvalho syndrome was starting to sort of set in. And yesterday was a little bit the same in the first half. I thought the second half he was actually having his best time, and then they took him off. And I felt like Surridge came on though and stretched the game. He actually didn't play on the left; he played in the middle more so, and we had space and we used the space. They created the space for Morgan Gibbs White to play primarily, but also Brennan and so forth. And I think that's what happened. We stretched the game. Colback anchored it. Freuler had a kind of a bit of a funny game, but he's good normally. But whatever. We stretched the game a bit and we played football in the gap and we took them apart. And basically, it was like we were opening up in the final round and we laid the punches on them and scored the goals.
add something to what Matt said earlier about the goalkeeper that we haven't actually mentioned. Like, personally, I think Hennessy's class. I don't think the issue is just how long Dino's out for. If it's 6 weeks, which people are talking about, what happens if Hennessy gets injured? That's my major concern. I don't want to badmouth any of the younger keepers. I don't know them, but my concern is we've got 2 keepers that are top draw, Premiership experience, key position. If Hennessy gets a knock, even if it's for 2 games, then what happens if Dean's out? Because most established Premier League clubs have 3 good keepers, 3 Premier League keepers, and I get why we haven't. Huh?
Yeah.
It's
crazy, isn't it?
No, we got that. What's the other keeper? We got other keeper. The other one.
Adnan Kanowicz. Yeah, we've got 4 of them in the squad.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's no Premiership experience outside of those 2.
No.
And
he came from Stoke. He's meant to be all right, but you wouldn't want to chuck him into the Premier League. He hasn't played a game in the Premier League.
Sorry to take it all the way back there, but that was just something I thought. And you mentioned Freuler there, Matt. He was incredible yesterday. Absolutely incredible. Everywhere we looked, he was popping up here, there, and everywhere. I'm not a stato, but I'd love to know his running stats. Someone somewhere must know his running stats.
13 kilometres.
He normally runs about 10 or 12 kilometres anyway, doesn't he? But he was everywhere.
The thing I love about him is he never runs. He walks. He walks around the pitch, but he knows where to go. He just sets his GPS and he goes off. If you watch him, I don't think he runs hardly at all. But yesterday he did. I must admit, yesterday he did. And I think with this Danilo potentially coming, they might be thinking of playing him in a bit more the same role he plays for the Swiss team, and a bit more advanced, because he played a nice ball through, didn't he, early on? Yeah. And that was interesting. Like Yatesy, did he hit his head, do you think? Because he was pointing like this.
Yeah,
they were worried about his neck and his head.
Yates has got a head injury. So he'd probably
something like that. Yeah.
He'd probably have a concussion test or something. What do they call him? Scans on the head and all that.
It's amazing. It made any difference to him. I thought he'd play better once he had that.
Sorry, Dave. Can I just say about the keeper situation?
Yeah.
Just put my saying it is that the problem we run with keepers is that if they say Endo's out for 8 weeks, right, 2 months. If we sign a keeper, how would Hennessy feel then if he's pushed then to second and that keeper just walks in? Or if we push Hennessy up, he goes on the bench, then Hendo comes back, and then everyone goes up. Hendo goes back in the team. Then what do you do? Do you promote that keeper we've had on loan up to second, and Hennessy gets dropped out? Or Hennessy, what happens to that third keeper?
What you want to do is loan Man U's third goalkeeper, don't you? That's what you want to do. If they've got 3, they don't need the third one. That's what you want to do, and just pay some money for a few months.
But I know keepers, some people do actually do emergency loans, don't they? And they do like a month or so on, or 2 months. With keepers, you can just. But my worry would be is like I think Matt said earlier, just find out how long Endo's out first, and then go from there. If he's out for 8 weeks, maybe go with Hennessy and just pray he doesn't get injured. But like Molo said, if he gets injured, it's such a difficult position to cover.
If you give Mark Crossley a pair of shoes, I'm sure he'll play a game. He's always up for a sponsorship deal, isn't he?
Hennessy won't let us down. Like I say, I've got no qualms about him playing. And he was on loan at Burnley all last season, wasn't he?
Yeah,
you look at the management team that brought him in, and they have an incredible record with goalkeepers and centre backs, don't they? In terms of the players, they wouldn't have Hennessy as their backup unless they trust him 100%. Certain Mr. Wone said he will not let us down. Ian Wone, he was saying there's no way he'll let us down. Did you know Woney's a season ticket holder at Forest now?
Oh, yep.
Him and his daughter, brilliant. And there's no way he's a top pro, he wouldn't let us down. My only concern, and it sounds so harsh, let's imagine he plays against Bournemouth and gets injured for 4 or 5 weeks. Like Steve says, suddenly you've got 2 unknowns. I mean, we do know Jordan Smith, and he's a great guy and a great club servant. Is he going to be able to play for a month and a half in the Premier League? Maybe he is. My gut feeling is that's a big ask.
It's a massive ask.
And particularly
the point is, do you risk it? It's ridiculous.
I don't want to be negative about it.
I know what you mean, man. Like I say, John Smith. Like I said, if it wasn't for him, we'd be in league. We would have been in League One. That's what it is. If it wasn't
We
for him,
could be Derby, couldn't we? Basically,
Matt, they're not relevant. They're in League One.
Jordan Smith stood between us and that.
I put a poll up about a certain left back, Loddy. People, do you think Forest should sign? I think if Forest can sign it, is it 25 million? I think it is
22 million.
22 million. I put right, and ask the panel, people in the comments, do you think we should sign Loddy? Yes or no? Because
100%. That's not even a poll then.
No. But I'm saying, I know he started bad for. He didn't play. He started bad for us, but he's gradually got better. I'm just saying, get it out there. Some people say no. Like I mentioned, a certain Des Oldham said he was rubbish. Sorry, Des, I have to throw into the box.
But he was for the first 10 games. He literally didn't defend at all.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And Mr. Simeone didn't think he could defend at all. And you accept that, but he didn't attack either, did he? He didn't put one cross in for about 7 or 8 games.
That's my point.
So, but now
that.
Wolves. If you look back at the tapes, I'd love to watch.
No. What I'm saying is Simeone picked him 46 times last season, so I'm sure he doesn't think he can't defend.
He sold him though, didn't he? He didn't.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, he didn't. He didn't defend for 8 games, did he? He didn't make a tackle. He was a rag doll. He was going back and forth. You know, he's obviously a good player, but he didn't look like a very good player. You know, when he first 8 games, he looked exceptionally good.
If we're honest, like I said earlier, we can't really judge any of the players based on the beginning of the season. There was no gelling, and it was. And I'm like I said, I have complete faith in Cooper and complete faith in the players. Anyone Cooper believes in, I believe in. I think we're seeing what Scarpa can do and will consistently do from now on. It was a rough start to the season for everyone. There was one good player, and that was Yatesy. And now we're back on it, and we're going to finish 13th at the very least.
Oh, Ellie, get a grip yourself.
There's a massive difference between a team gelling and working together and understanding each other, or just basically being able to defend. And he didn't defend. He didn't put in any crosses. And if you look back, you know, there was not, when we had the option at the beginning of the year, the turn of the year, and it's like, do we buy him or not buy him? That poll would have been 100 to 1, maybe, or something, 99 to 1.
Oh, yeah, but what would you say about Gibbs White?
Yeah.
Gibbs White at the beginning of the season,
Gibbs White was obviously a good. Gibbs White, every game he's played, he's been good. In context, he's a good player. Yes, he has.
He's a very good player, and I never doubted him for a moment. And I said it when he was having rough games. I said at the beginning, he was very close to being fantastic, and I was seeing it. I think I stand by what I said. Look, everyone had a rough game. We can't just pick out Loddy. We could pick out every single player at the beginning of the season and say, what were you doing?
Except Yates.
Except Yatesy. Shout out Yatesy.
No,
icon.
In that scenario, no one was doing well. Obviously, that goes without saying. But Loddy did nothing at all. And he wouldn't. If you were trying to say,
I do agree with Matt. I think
you're exaggerating.
No, if you look, if you
he did up into every game. I sat there at Leicester and he got torn a new one, but he was literally half the side of the pitch was just him.
Loddy was shocking.
Sure.
He couldn't tackle his way out of a
right. Let's stop there. Right. Let me put it in this context. Let me put it
very harsh. And it's that kind of harshness when new players come in. You've slated Scarpa. He's played 2.5 games. And you know, he'll be a great player. You did say that. But you were very negative about his performance in the last 2 games, weren't you?
You couldn't be more wrong.
You
couldn't
be more wrong. Wait. Stop. Right, let's stop. Right.
Scarpa, I think, has been potentially one of our best signings for years.
Right. No, Matt. Let me mention about Loddy first. Loddy, and I agree with Matt on certain point. He wasn't great.
He looked an awful player.
He looked like an awful player. When he played against Leicester, he was shocking. Absolutely shocking. And then Toffolo come in, and you got to give credit to Toffolo. He was good.
They were better.
He was better than Loddy at that time. Yes, he was better at that time. But since what game was it?
Tottenham.
Tottenham.
This
Tottenham,
year, basically,
Yes.
year since Christmas.
Since
Coming back.
Since coming back against Tottenham Hotspur in the cup, that is the game I think he's better. He's improved. He's got better and better and better.
His defending has been really, really, really
Yes,
solid.
and that's my point about
chalk and
Lodge.
cheese. Chalk and
Right.
cheese.
So I put in a poll and say 98 says we should sign Loddo and 2% says no. People, who's the 2%? If you're 2%, put it in the comments, people.
Matt.
But
Just Matt.
let me mention about Scarpa because and we'll talk about Scarpa and then we'll mention about Storage. And this is my opinion about Scarpa, right? The game against Wolves, he wasn't pressing. That was my gripe against him. Second half, his job was to stop Neves because Neves was in that role getting the ball. Neves was a world-class player for me. Scarpa was just watching him everywhere he goes. Yesterday, especially the second half, I thought Scarpa was very, very good. That was my opinion. Not the first half, the second half. Let me ask you.
He wasn't on for long though. He was only about 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I'm trying to say
he did do well. He was looking really, really sharp.
Well, the thing is, right? When Scarpa went off, and this is where I'm bringing storage, Sam Storage, big Sam, I call him. I personally think he changed the game when he come on. But let's talk about Scarpa. I'm asking you, Steve. What's your right? People in the comments are right. What is your opinion about Scarpa so far? And let's be real, Stephen. That's you first.
That guy can pass the ball.
Yeah.
That guy can pass the ball. Trust me. He pinged that ball in the first half to Lodi, left back. The two Brazilian boys, he knew where Lodi was. It's like it was a magnet to Lodi's foot. And the way he trapped it, I got my own opinion about Lodi. I'll come back to later now. But with Scarpa, I agree on Matt. The Wolves game, he was kind of here and there. Like, you got to remember one thing, this lad's come from a very hot climate as well. And when you look at him play, he's probably, when he was at Blackpool, he's probably thinking, what have they walked into here? Where am I? I'm cold, I'm wet. What are these seagulls flying above my head? Where am I? What climate is this? He was at Old Trafford watching us with his big difficult, with his hood above his head and freezing cold. Give this guy a time. He's, like Matt said, I think he's going to be one hell of a player. I think he's hit his peak now. He's like, 28, 29? Good age for a footballer. And like I said, the pass, that guy, he did create a chance in the first half on himself as well. He kind of...
Yeah, two chances. Two chances first half.
He kind of done like a drag
took
back.
It in and took it out, didn't he?
Yeah. Great bit of skill, and he whipped it. A bit more pace, and he could have trouble keeping a bit more. But that pass, go back to the Southampton game. I mentioned in the last podcast I did, is the audacity to do that, to come on and find Nico Williams in the right back position in his first game, completely unknown, and to do that, just find him like that. And he did it to Lodi yesterday. If you watch that pass again, he hardly looked up. He knew where Lodi was, and that was Steven Gerrard did that back in the day, and everyone was like praising it. He did a Steven Gerrard pass. It was straight to Lodi's left foot.
Ian Wright praised him as well. Ian Wright did praise him yesterday.
On break stride. But my opinion on him, I think we're not going to see the true Scarpa when the weather turns now in the spring. Nicer pitches, nicer weather for him. When we got a bit more sunshine, a bit more heat, and the climate's a bit better, I think he's going to come in on his own, because at the moment the poor boy looks freezing cold. I want to.
Stereotyping or anything, Steve.
Matt, make this quick, Matt. What do you think about Scarpa?
Scarpa, yeah, I agree, and I think the only thing that can go wrong with Scarpa is if we overcoach him. I think leave him as he is, leave him be, let him do Scarpa things. He's exactly what we need. Don't try and make him into a Yates or something like that. Don't make him into an homogenous Premier League player, because that's not what he is. We've paid for all the flair, all the craziness, all the sort of mad stuff. And as long as he stays like Scarpa is now, then we'll get the best out of him. I'm sure of it.
Ellie, what's your opinion on Scarpa?
Yeah, I think Matt and Steve have hit the nail on the head there. I think we're not going to pretend he's been as good as he was at Blackpool the last couple of games, but we know there's a player there, and the type of creative player that he is, getting used to the team, like Steve said, he can just ping a fantastic ball in to Loddy because he knows where Loddy is. Once he gets used to the rest of the players, there's much more to come from him. And I think Forest fans need to stay behind him, stay behind the players like we usually always do. PMA, positive mental attitude, and I think he will continue to be fantastic.
Molo?
Yeah, agree. I think it was Gary Birtles used to say, you can't judge a player. They can't settle in. It takes 10 games. And my thoughts are, and I certainly differ with one or two on the panel on this, but I thought Gibbs White for the first 10 games was a nearly man. He's nearly a great pass, nearly scored, or nearly doesn't cut it, does it in the Premier League? I think he's obviously got that potential to be great, and we're seeing it now, hopefully. But in Scarpa's case, he's right at the start of those 10 games, really, and he's already showing enough that once he settles, gets used to the pace of it. I totally disagree in terms of the coaching thing. He needs that coaching to be a Premier League player. We don't want to take his flair out of him, of course, but he's got to play within the pattern of the Steve Cooper setup and what have you. And he could potentially be a superstar, really, for us.
That's what they got to get rid of that.
I got a white
on one side, he's got the tools. My only concern at this stage, and there's a couple of comments from people who sit around him, the type of player he is, he's got that read about him, hasn't he? Because he definitely lacks pace. I mean, I think it was against Wolves, a player walked past him and he was chasing the ball. And he's almost got a bit of the John Robertson. I know it's a slightly different era and position, a bit of the John Robertson about his build in a way. That's perhaps not quite right. He doesn't look like an athlete, does he? Bless him. And in this day and age, you've got to have something really special, which he certainly has in his locker, which we've got to make sure we get into the structure of our team. And Cooper's the ideal man for it, isn't he? Because he's one of the best coaches around.
I think. Sorry, Molo. I think he doesn't look like an athlete because he's wearing like 10 layers.
I couldn't. He should have felt at home at Blackpool, that beach. Exactly like the coach.
I think he's going to come out with a snooze on next time. With what them snoozes Tevez used to wear?
I don't know what those snoods are.
All right.
I agree with you there, Steve. You might be right, Steve, because of course he's just come off a season, but that lack of pace, he's going to be making up for in other ways, isn't he?
I think he needs to get used to English football.
Yeah.
And some of the Brexit tackles.
He's quite tenacious, though, isn't he? He's won the ball a couple of times off people that weren't expecting. So I think I personally think you don't mess around with him. You don't. There's enough boring players. He's got something special, and you keep that at all costs. You do not coach it out of him.
I'm not saying coach it out of him. I'm saying the opposite.
Yeah, but that's what happens. Yeah, but that's what happens. If he doesn't play those Hollywood balls across the pitch, he'll be told not to do them, and he'll never do them again. This Premier League football.
That's what people do, is it? Though that sounds like a Graham Taylor kind of.
I hope not. Yeah, that's what I hope.
Chris Hughton.
But that's yes, exactly, Chris Hughton. But that's what we had to go back to basics because we're in the Premier League. We're going to get ourselves relegated. Just tighten it up, like you said earlier, with the centre halves and all that kind of stuff. Needs must sort of thing. But he's our luxury player, and we've got to keep the luxury as far as I would say. Don't pick him.
Cooper's always let the front three. But Cooper's, even when we've been more solid, Cooper's always set up to let the front three wreak havoc go when they play well, hasn't he? I think that's not going to change. The only disaster could be if he moved him back into that, say, Mangala role, and he had to do more of that, because you've got to. It doesn't matter how luxury a player you are, you've got to work hard in the top divisions, including the Championship.
Oh yeah, no, they all have to work. They all have to work hard. And going back to Gibbs White and Scarpa, the Messis of this world have quite average games quite often. They're not brilliant every game. They're not going to be brilliant every game. Gibbs White wasn't obviously his greatest the first few games, but he's a decent player, he's a classy player, and he's going to be valuable for us in a lot of roles over the years. I'm sure of it. He can play a lot of games and create a lot of goals.
Can I just say, sorry, Ben, quick. Scarpa's range of passing is you wouldn't tell him not to do it, because if he can find a pass like that, if Loddy makes that run, they're going to say in training, I'm going to make that run, find me. And Nico Williams made that run against Southampton, and no one else on that pitch saw that pass. When he delivered that pass, I thought, wait, what pass? And then all of a sudden, Nico Williams went on. I thought, wow, he found him. So in training, they probably tell him, like, you've got a pass now, a range of passing. Look for them wingers. Look for the out
Yeah,
wide.
but the thing is with Scarpa, like at Blackpool, you got to set him up right. You know, he was taking all the pot shots, and they were a little bit ambitious, and we achieved nothing. So it's a question of when you play the percentages with someone like that. You know, you can't tell till you're in that environment, can you? You can't tell. You can't simulate it at all. You've got to play Premier League football and see what you can do. And you know, people like Yates or something you think couldn't perform at that level, they can. You get there and you find out, yeah, I can do this. I can play this way. I can succeed this way, and then that's how you play.
And because like he doesn't have the pace, he needs them runners off him. Because if he hasn't got the pace to get on the pitch, if they get bombing up and down the wings, he'll find them. He doesn't have to move.
100%. But before we get to him, players who's man of the match now, there's one player that I want to mention, and I feel sorry for him. I really do feel sorry for Big Sam. He's not getting the. I know he got grief for missing 3 chances against Blackpool. He should have scored. Me personally, should have scored that goal from is it Aurier cross, and he just literally it was a yard out from the header. I'm asking you, Matt, about Sam Sturridge. Like, do you feel sorry for him because you can tell it's a lack of confidence. It's just like with Brennan. Brennan was lacking confidence, but now it's happened to Sturridge, isn't it?
It's my specialist subject. No, it's not lack of confidence. I think he's very comfortable that he thinks he's a Premier League player, but not playing is tough for any footballer. It's all about the pictures when things happen. And he missed. You'll recall, who was it? He missed that chance. It was a game I think we drew. No, we won. I think anyway, he missed a chance when he came on as a sub. He created a couple of goals with some headers across when he got involved. But the thing was, he was picked the first game of the season, which was a big statement. And he wasn't really fit then. He wasn't ready. And he seemed to take a lot of the heat for what happened at Newcastle, which, to be honest, none of the forwards probably deserved much blame because they couldn't get any service. But anyway, he then was left out, and for a long, long, long time, he's been introduced, and personally, I feel he's the kind of player that makes things happen. And so, a bit like the Scarpa scenario. You know, these are the kind of guys sometimes you don't want things to happen, sometimes you do. And I think he's widely accepted as the best finisher at the squad at the club, although he hasn't shown it just recently. But that's what happens. If you leave a player out of a team, they'll lose match sharpness. He would 9 out of 10 times he'd have scored a couple of goals in the last week. He hasn't, but he will do if he keeps playing.
James, just trying to have a vendetta against Super Sam. No, we haven't. Where have you seen? We've not slagged him off at all.
I love it.
I don't know where have you seen that. Where you said
people are so fickle, though. They're so fickle. Yeah. You know, he is what he is, and you know he's missed some chances, but he's the most prolific player in the Championship aside from Mitrovic. So, if you want someone to score goals when they're on the pitch, he's the guy to give a try. Right. And he hasn't really had much of a sniff. And half the time he's been on the pitch, it's been holding on to a lead and all this kind of stuff, where he's just closing people down. He's never going to get a goal, whoever he is. He's just closing people down. So yesterday was quite nice. He had a chance. He played with good players around him. And it was a joy to see Cole back, him, and then
Cole back again. You always mention Cole back again.
You've got to mention Cole back. That was where, if he hadn't done that, the rest of it we would never have happened. History would have gone a different way.
100%.
I think to what he's saying there about Surridge, because I'm a big bit of I'm not quite as bad as Matt, but I'm a bit of a Surridge fanboy. And what I will say is, and anybody who's watched football for more than 5 minutes knows, a good striker gets chances. Do you know what I mean? And the thing about Surridge,
you missed them.
Chances keep coming to him. Of course, it's because of a good cross out from Freud or whatever, but he's there to get the chances. He's there to miss the chances. And he missed 4 chances against Blackpool, but he was there after he'd missed the first one, the second one, the third one. On another day, he scored like at Swansea, he nearly scored 5, didn't he, against Swansea? I know the only question.
Well, yeah, exactly.
The only question
He was
mark,
rubbish in the first half, wasn't he, of that game?
Yeah,
He was terrible
yeah.
at half time, and then he scores a hat trick in the second half against Forgotten. That's the life of a striker.
absolutely. The only question mark, and I don't really have a view on this yet, because I think a good finisher is a good finisher generally, is he a bit of a sort of next generation Lewis Graben, who is a very, very good championship player, but will he make that step up? And he hasn't had the chance to prove whether he can or he can't yet. So I thought he played really well yesterday. And I agree with Matt. I thought Colback against Wolves for that 20 minutes changed the game when we looked like we were getting overrun. I thought Colback was superb second half, doing his job to make sure those forward players could do what they do. It was such a good way they pulled it all together and whatnot. But yeah, the question at the end of the day, the jury's out on Surridge, isn't it? But if he's good enough for Cooper, he's good enough for me until Cooper thinks we need better.
Yeah, 100%. I
Can't
agree
see
with
him
that.
getting too many minutes though, unless we get any more injuries.
I 100% agree with you. And like I said, I'll be honest with you. Like when Scarpa went off and Big Sam come out, I thought Scarpa's playing good, especially the second half. But it was the right choice. It was the right choice. He come on, game changed. Because I think when John had crossed it in, and no one was in that 6-yard box, and that was if Sam was there, that would have been in. And I think that's why.
Or over the bar.
Huh?
Or over the bar. If it was
Or over the bar. But people,
I like Surridge.
people, there's 132 people. Wow, that's crazy. Thank you for everyone that's took part as well. Please do hit the like button. I'm on 46 likes. Get me to 100 likes, people, if you can. Right, people, who was your man of the match and what was your player rating as well? Put in the comments below if you can, and I will shout you out. Let me start with Quiet L. I can't believe L's so quiet. Bloody hell. People in the comments. Do you think L's so quiet?
Say something bad about Ryan Yates. He'll soon pipe up then.
People, let me start with you, Ella. Who was your man of the match, even if you saw 30 seconds of the game yesterday?
Well, I technically saw all of it. I'm gonna have to say Brereton. Brereton.
What?
Because she's reading the comments.
I saw the comments. I just not Brereton. Brennan Johnson.
Unbelievable.
Come on, who?
Brennan Johnson.
Brennan Johnson.
Brereton Johnson.
Brereton.
Oh, days.
Brennan Johnson.
Brennan Johnson.
I think you can't score those goals and not. Well, you could not give it to him, but in my opinion, well deserved from him. Don't think there are other people that could be considered, but for me, it has to be Brennan Johnson.
What about the team performance out of 10?
What's his performance? Rated out of 10.
Well, the bits I remember.
He hasn't got a clue, that's shit. Molo, you know when I said Ellie, give it a nod. Molo, give her a little nudge.
What can I say? She's a student. We were all students once.
I had a great time.
She had a good time.
It was Leicester. I had to celebrate in style.
More as well.
Before the game. I knew what was coming.
So what's your rating?
8.
There we go.
Good deal, that's shocking.
So,
Molo, what was your...
The three of them were, so I'm going to go between the two fullbacks and Jono. Jono got the goals, and then of course, but Gibbs White was the difference this time. He showed us what he should be all about. Do you know what? It was one of them where the manager has to take so much credit because the substitutions worked. And the thing we didn't say about Surridge, he bullied because the Leicester centre halves are more bothered about their hair, weren't they, than the physical stuff. And when he come on, he absolutely bullied them, didn't he? They didn't want to know. But I'm going to go Gibbs White and a 7.5 out of 10. Good performance. Not perfect, of course, it never is. But and we were playing a very poor side with no confidence and no backing from their very quiet supporters. But they were soaked through, to be fair.
Leave them alone. Matt, who's your man of the match?
Yeah, it's difficult. The defenders were all good. Like I say, I thought they were all decent. You feel like you should give it to Brennan, but truthfully, he didn't do as much as he might have done aside from the goals, which were both excellent. I think you have to say Morgan Gibbs-White, don't you? But I'm tempted to give it to Brennan, but for sort of achievement sort of thing, but effort, definitely Morgan Gibbs-White, because he laid the second one. Well, the second one was beautiful, and he played the biggest role in it. So I have to give it to Morgan Gibbs-White, and it'll probably be the first of very, very many man of the match performances by him, I think. So, let's hope so.
Rating?
Oh, rating for the team. Well, realistically, I was about 6 in the first half, and the second half probably about 7.5. So, call it a 7.5 because it's not where you start; it's where you finish that matters. So, 7.5, let's say.
Well, Steve, what was your man of the match?
Well, I'm not going to pick the obvious one, Gibbs-White. I'm going to go left field, literally left field. I'm going to go
He's going left wing. He's going left wing.
Do you know what? His performance yesterday, and I respect nothing more than a footballer when he walks off the pitch looking knackered, because he put a shift in. If you see the tackles he won, and go back to the Wolves game, he had Toure in his back pocket. And yesterday, who was up against him? I forgot who was up against him on the right wing. He won tackle upon tackle. It was one time.
Brighton.
Or Brighton. And when he went off, the other guy came on and he had him as well. There was one time he was on the floor. He won the tackle. He had his leg stretched out and won the tackle again. And when he got off, and this is what I'm on about looking knackered. When he stood up, he looked drained, and he carried on going. And that's why I respect the footballers. You don't have to be the best footballer in the world, but this is why I love Ryan Yates and them people. They're not the best technical footballers, but they put the effort in, and they looked knackered walking off the pitch. And you can't ask more for that. And Loddy, and look at that, from the first game he had against Leicester, shocking, to yesterday. How a couple of, how many months is that? 3 months makes a massive difference. 2 or 3 months. Yeah, for me, Loddy and Aurier was outstanding as well. Absolute monster, that guy. Do you know what? He would take him to a battle, wouldn't he? To a war.
Yeah,
He would. Exactly. He that guy strikes me someone. He'll have all your backs. He'll fight your corner for you on a pitch. No one mess with him. You need a bit of an animal in the squad, don't you? A bit of a beast, and he is. He's a bit of a scary guy. For me, Loddy and rating. Sorry, Ben. Loddy, my man of the match, and I'm going to go for 7.5. Just because the first half was a bit.
Before I get mine, I don't know if Molo's been reading this. There's Terry. I think he's been really obsessed with you, Molo. Can you repeat what Molo is? You get a bit too excited and start slurring as well.
I'll say it very slowly for all our Leicester folk. What I was saying was I felt your team was struggling because it was only a 7.5 out of 10 because the team we played were rubbish. Their fans were rubbish. And they were soaking wet, and their banners looked like they were made at a primary school. For you, and it all goes well next season in the championship.
And that's Molo's response as well. He's been on his best behaviour. I said to Molo, "There's going to be some Leicester fans on here trying to give you some grief," and there's a reply. He's been nice. My man of match. You know what? I've got to agree with Steve. I think Loddy for me was my man of the match. Monk is white. Fantastic. Bernard Johnson second half, again, fantastic. But for me, Loddy was my man of the match. He's getting better since that Leicester City game at their place. But for me, it's definitely Loddy. And for rating, I'll say 8 out of 10. It could have been 9, but the first half, like I said, it was more Leicester than us, if I'm honest. But I'll give it definitely 8 out of 10. Right.
Don't you think, Dor, every player that played, including the subs, I'm just trying to think because even O'Brien, everybody who played was at least a good solid 7 out of 10. That's why it was such a good all-round performance.
Yeah, and even McKenna. I thought, like I said, I've seen.
McKenna was fine.
McKenna was fine, wasn't it? I saw on a different podcast of slating him and Sam Sturridge. I'm like, okay,
after the game.
I'm not going to mention the channel. I'm not going to mention the channel. I'll tell you afterwards. Too much. Yeah. Just
the game's wasted on them. They should just look at the stats, because there's a lot more. You can look at the stats and look at the missed chances and then just stick to that. But it's all about the context of the whole.
Exactly. It's about the context, and if you go to the game as well and seeing it with your own eyes and that, bro.
It's you that needs to behave.
Yeah, and no, like I said, I don't want to. That's not a cheap shot at people who can't go to the game. I'm not going to shout at Stephen as well. I'm not. I'm just saying, with McKenna, people like I said, it's all right watching the game, but you got the way he was, the way people gave him grief. McKenna, like I said, the Blackpool game, he wasn't great, but he come back, especially against Wolves, and today I'm going against Leicester. Him and Worrell, Holly Barnes had 2 chances. But far from that, there's nothing but.
Yeah, but Ben, I don't understand how, as a Forest fan, right? How can you in your head think, oh, now Bolly's out, McKenna's going to be a nightmare? How can that be in your mindset? Being a Forest fan?
How much evidence do you need?
Yeah,
you know,
how can you
man of the match in Wembley.
I've only seen McKenna probably do 2 mistakes in 2 years. There was one game last year against Cardiff. He gave the ball away in the first minute and he scored.
Yeah.
And maybe like yesterday, Matt said, giving the ball away and Tielemans intercepting the midfield. 2 mistakes in 2 years. I can think of just off the top of my head.
Bournemouth.
It's ridiculous.
Bournemouth.
But
the back pass,
I agree with you. He's Mr. Reliable. People slating him are just, I don't know what, like Matt's hit the nail on the head. What evidence they need. He was, barring Jono's fantastic stuff he did last season, he would have been our player of the season, and he was some people's player of the season. So I don't get it at all. I can't.
Don't forget, there were some idiots this season that were suggesting that Cooper should go. You know, don't.
Right. Don't. Wait.
Don't go there.
Don't go there, Matt. Matt, listen to me. This is one the game. Don't wind me up because people in the chat know. Like I said, when I mentioned, I'll tell you after it. I might do a new stream and talk about it, but not now because it winds me up.
When now, if really got rid of Cooper. That's what
exactly. But the one thing, being a Forest fan, you should know is how important a good manager is. If you didn't learn it from Clough, you should have learned it last year from Cooper and from Mr. Houston for doing the before so well. And the other thing is how a good manager can transform players. It's not just about buying the best players; it's how you use them. Like Gibbs White, he's expensive, but he could be super expensive with the right manager using him the right way. Clough did it with a whole, John Robertson, who we mentioned earlier, and a whole bunch of other people who were useless when he turned up. And look what they went on to do. Stellar careers. And we can do the same with these people. And like Loddy, going back to Loddy, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he didn't do much, in my opinion, to begin with. If I was his dad, I'd be saying, Mr. Loddy, mate, Junior, you're not playing very well. You're better than this. But now he's playing excellently, and he's the same player. So, fair play to him. He's got it, and I think it'd be a big asset for the rest of the season. But let's get him cheap because of how bad he was to start with.
Taking what Matt said, it makes you wonder if he had hit a patch of bad form that made, Simone think, I'm going to let him go and get something else in or whatever. And Cooper's helped turn that round or whatever's helped turn it around. Because I was reading something quite recently and talking about players that we're going to struggle to hang on to if we're not, if they're not tied up. And his name came up. But talk about struggling to hang on to people. The love we show for Cooper, I hope and pray when the time comes, 6 months down the line, 18 months down the line, and the real big boys come knocking on the door, wanting him because he's kind of Graham Potter 2 or 3 years ago.
That's what, you know what? I was about to say exactly the same, Molo.
That's what scares me.
And this is what happened. I say with Cooper, it's his first season in the Premier League. He's going to get things right. He's going to get things wrong. He's learning in the Premier League. So people that doubted, like people in the comments before we do go, if you do it quick, was anyone? There's 113 people in. Comment below. Was you anyone that wanted Cooper out? Because I can throw people under the bus and say that wanted Cooper out, but I'm not because I don't want to give him the word clout. You know who you are because I'm not going to say it. That'll be a different show. I'll be doing it throw you under the bus because people, like I said, people in the comments know who I'm talking about, but that's a different show that we want to talk about. Right, people, it's been a fantastic show. Thank you, Matt, for doing it. Before you do go, promote your little work that you do.
Oh, I'm just up to my neck in it at the moment.
As always, you're
I've got a
always
few.
busy.
I've got a few of these to do next week. I'm not going to leave it at Gibbs White, of course. There's 3 or 4 of them that have been up to it. So yeah, I'm keeping busy with all that. So yeah, that's it. Valentine's Day's coming. So if you want a Ryan Yates Valentine's card or a Steve Cooper Valentine's card, they'll be on this on the site soon.
Oh,
So
yeah.
is it,
Keep it current.
I'm just going to subtly send this to him. So, hey, Gary,
I know Ellie's not putting the content out. Ellie, why are you not putting the content out, Ellie? It's shocking.
I've got exams, though.
It's in the middle of exams.
Yeah.
What do you mean shocking? I know. I mean, like people, as you know, I do the review after the game review, and every last 2 games, Ellie, I've gone crazy straight after the game. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
I didn't mean to. You didn't put my last one up? I bet, did you? Or is
I
it up
did.
there?
It's
The next one.
Cut me
Yes.
out.
I thought it might be a bit too controversial.
I was there trying to show. See, you cut me out.
But yeah, it's like people. Let's say if you do want to see the after the game review, please go and check them. There's Des, Molo, Ellie, Glenn, as well, Rads as well. What's his name from Canada? What's his name?
I can't say
Canada, but
not Gustavo. It's a
Trudeau.
Italian sounding name, isn't it? Oh, I can't remember his name.
the Canada bloke. Sorry, he's gonna actually kill me.
You're going to have to edit this out. You're going to have to edit this out. This is so bad.
DoreOnTour bloopers.
He said, "You're dead to him now."
Albertus, that's it. Sorry,
Alberto.
Albertus. My man,
Told you
sorry,
it's an Italian name.
legend. He's a
I
legend.
can only
All
apologise.
the way from Canada.
And then to get snubbed like that.
He's made it.
He's
as-
gonna actually
Public
kill me.
snubbing.
He's gonna absolutely kill me after this. Albertus, I'm sorry.
Obviously made a big impact.
He's done a massive impact. But yeah, if I don't like some people after the game, if you do want to do any match reviews from straight after the game, please do. It's helping. It's people love it. So if you do, please get in contact with me. Right. Before I do go, Des does his diary with Des on Monday.
I
But
love
he's doing it on Wednesday with the legend Kevin Campbell. So if any Forest fan wants to come on with Kevin and Des on Wednesday, a little chat, please do. That will start at 8 or 9, but I gotta get confirmation from Des. So if any Forest fan wants to come on with Des and Kevin, message me, message Des, talk about Forest. It's going to be a great show. And Kevin's back. He's been messaging me, and he wants to come on. So that'll be on Wednesday as well. And I'll be doing a show as well for myself. Talk about stuff that come out my chest because I'm just getting a bit cheesed off a little bit with certain people. But that I'll be doing that either Tuesday or Thursday. So watch out
Prince
for that.
Harry?
Yeah, Prince Harry.
You can't get away from it at the moment.
I can't get away with it. So Prince Door, not Prince Harry, Prince Door. I'll be saying things as well. So that I'll be doing that either Tuesday or Thursday. So watch out for that as well. And as well, I'm doing my Bournemouth preview on Friday, 9
I
p.m.
hope we smash them. I hope we smash them.
We've got to.
I hope we smash them Saturday.
They haven't won in 6 games.
Oh,
You know who has to score the goal, though, don't you?
Oh,
Mr. Sturridge has to score the goal, doesn't he?
he's got to score.
yeah.
He owes
He's
him
due. He's due.
He's due a goal. Big Sam, please do. Just, if you do play,
He's due.
score a goal for me. Right.
Big game.
Before we do go, people, who's that? Who's talking? I don't know. Who's that? Right. People, everyone, thank you for Molo, Matt, Ellie.
Voices in his head.
More voices in my head. Thank you everyone for taking time as well. People, before you do go, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you I'll see you myself on Tuesday or Thursday. Des will be there Wednesday 9 o'clock with Kevin Campbell, and that will be it. Peace and love, people, and I'll see you soon. Up the Reds, people.
You Reds.